What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Lifestyle of Eden podcast. I am your host, Nick Tognetti. And today I want to discuss what I consider cortisol and the four brainwaves. Now, the reason that I connect this with cortisol is because of the way that I find in my practice things that I need to address in order to fix their cortisol. Now, we're going to get to the four brainwaves in a moment. The four, just in case you're wondering right off the top, is alpha waves, beta waves, theta waves, and delta waves. Now, without going deep into each, we're going to get into each. But alpha waves are generally like a very relaxed concentration. Theta waves are light sleep, kind of like what somebody might consider the twilight zone, where that time where like you're just entering into sleep, you're not really awake, but you're not like in this deep just slumber, right? And then that same position when you're like coming out of sleep, but you're not really awake and you're not like in that deep slumber. Delta waves are the deepest of sleeps. Okay. You're not even dreaming at delta. You're just knocked out. This is a very important stage. And then you have beta waves. Beta waves are very much related to a fight or flight, stress, anxiety, problem solving on the go type brainwave. And so, what we see a lot right now, especially with cortisol issues, whether it's the root of the cortisol or the byproduct of cortisol, becomes almost irrelevant in that it just becomes a vicious cycle once it starts going. Now, what I notice a lot in my practice, keep in mind, like I have I can't even say 9 out of every 10 because that's only 90%. The reality is almost 100%, if not 100%, of all of my clients that come to me have cortisol issues, which I thought most of these functional coaches actually had it like that. I was just speaking to another functional coach who is very well known. I do a lot of work with him behind the scenes. He's a fantastic guy. He's taught me a lot. I've gotten to teach him a lot. Very good friend and very well known in the functional space. After having a conversation with him the other day, he goes, Nick, I might have one or two cortisol cases that come to me out of 10. He goes, I don't really get them that much. And I was mind blown because I was like, dude, that's all I get. Like literally, they have gut issues. They've got osteoporosis. They've got autoimmune. They've got all these things. But I go, the cortisol is the root of all their stuff, which I think is the hardest case that you can possibly reverse and deal with. Why? Because cortisol is really the root of every single disease. It's the root of all metabolic dysfunction. And after cortisol comes gut issues, autoimmune diseases, osteoporosis, endometriosis, PCOS, prostate issues, weight loss resistance, serotonin deficiencies, iron deficiencies, and anemia, needing to get on SSRIs, missed menstrual cycles, early onset menopause. All these things literally come from cortisol issues. It's a vicious cycle that I can show over and over again. That's the reason why my page is called Mr. Cortisol on my Instagram, because everybody started just like making that joke, Mr. Cortisol, Mr. Cortisol. In fact, I just turned 31 a couple months ago, and at my 31st birthday, one of my really good girlfriends, Cassie, her and her husband, Austin, and then Ellie and her husband, Jordan, and then Marissa and her husband, David, they threw my birthday party for me. And Cassie was in charge of the cake. And the cake on it had my picture, and then it said, how is your cortisol? And that's what people have called me. They just continually called me Mr. Cortisol, Mr. Cortisol. Eventually it stuck. And I was like, okay, fine. So I changed my Instagram in my bio to Mr. Cortisol. And it was just because the understanding, having a true revelation that this is really the root of what's going on with all these different individuals. And because their cortisol is off, now their sleep is off. Now, was their lack of sleep the reason for their cortisol? Or once again, it almost becomes irrelevant. It's like either way, now it feeds each other. You didn't sleep, you didn't prioritize it. Now your cortisol's high. Now your cortisol's high, and you can't slow down and go to sleep. You're waking up at 1 in the morning. You're up until 5, and then your body knocks out at 5 until 6, and then it's this whole vicious cycle that you've got to be able to fix regardless. And this really started with me, how to fix my own cortisol, because nobody could help me. Nobody could fix it. It was a nightmare for years. And then all these other cases that I've had, I've just had to learn, okay, what do I need to do to really fix this? And so I started getting into brainwaves. And I just stumbled upon it, to be honest with you, as I was looking at different adrenal protocols that I was writing and different supplementation. And as I started reviewing certain supplementations, I started getting really deep into brainwaves. And so, like I said, let's go into these brainwaves for a minute, and then we'll discuss the connection to cortisol and how this can better help you as the listener to potentially start getting on the track to healing cortisol and allowing your body to heal itself. Now, granted, will you probably need a functional coach like myself to help dose these things out and time things out and whatnot? Yes, absolutely. I do not recommend running public dosages that are spoken about, whether it's on my page or on my podcast. I'm simply being vulnerable about what I did at certain things or whatever. My weight is different. The reason I did things were different. The other supplementation that I was utilizing to complement those things or not complement those things are going to be different. So I have to absolutely emphasize on this. Please do not take the dosages that I may or may not mention and go run with that and think it's the end all be all or it's what you need to do. And I'll give you an example, like methionine. I never really give public dosages on the amino acid methionine because if you have too much methionine, you can literally cause death and brain issues. So I don't really put that out there. But if I was to ever speak about it publicly, if a woman weighs 150 pounds, then yeah, I might give her X. But if you weigh 110, that's going to be way different. And so same thing with any of these supplements. Sure, are they supplements? Are they amino acids? Are they all these different things? Yes, fine, vitamins, whatever. But everything is good until it's not. Okay. And so I recommend getting a practitioner. So I just want to emphasize that up front. So, like I said, with alpha waves, let's start with alpha waves. Alpha waves are really associated with, like I said, relaxed focus. I'm going to talk about how I get into the alpha state eventually here on this podcast today. But without going into it yet, the alpha state, when I really get into it, I don't know if you've seen the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper, and he takes those pills that when he takes one pill for the next 12 hours, he gets more done in 12 hours and can recollect and remember and all these things more than what somebody could do in 10 years. That is how I feel when I am in alpha state. So I put myself in alpha state basically every day starting around 8 a.m. And when I hit that state, oh my gosh, I am a freaking machine, dude. It's insane. I get a whole class for my university done in 2 hours. If you were to really look at that, like that would take somebody 7 weeks to write out. Like the stuff that I'm doing, 7 pages long or 8 pages long, 10 pages long in 2 hours. It's unreal. The focus is hyper, but it's a relaxed, absolute hyper focus. And you can also get this state when you're like daydreaming or meditating, things of that nature. I don't really notice it much you have to get into very heightened meditation to be able to get into that type of state. Beta waves, like I said, are a little bit more of the get stuff done in an anxious way, like very problem solving in a fight or flight type of mode. So it's a great alertness and mental activity. It is not relaxed, in my opinion. It doesn't mean you're not getting stuff done, but it's not a position that I want to be in on a regular basis or live in. Delta waves is a state of radically deep sleep, restful sleep. This is literally when your immune system and cortisol levels begin actually healing, okay, is this delta state. So, like in this state, you're not even dreaming. You're literally not even dreaming. You're so deep in delta, there is no dreams because dreams would cause activity. You are literally in total healing mode to the highest degree possible. Complete physical healing and tissue repair and regeneration, autophagy, all of these different types of things. Theta waves are the fourth and final, and these are extreme relaxation of no focus. And these happen when you're in a really light sleep or drifting off to sleep. And these are what improve like mood. They also reduce stress levels. You have no thoughts or thinking about anything in any way, shape, or form. You're literally going into sleep or coming out of sleep, but you're still like in that sleepish phase. You're definitely not awake fully or anything like that. Okay. And so here's the thing. You really want to be able to go on an ideal scale from daily basis. You really want to be able to go alpha wave during the day, boom, to theta waves as you're trying to go to sleep, to delta waves, and then you wake up So you're waking out and you're going back through theta, and then boom, you go back to delta and so forth. And you can go into beta when you're training and working out, or like like something really bad happened, you got to figure something out, but it needs to be very acute and not chronic and everything else. You don't really want to go from delta to beta, beta to delta, this, that, and the other. And so when I'm dealing with cortisol issues with clients, they're not sleeping, full of anxiety, weight loss resistance, inflammation. They're not getting deep delta sleep. They're waking up constantly throughout the night. If they're even getting to sleep, they're constantly waking up. They're never getting to that tissue regeneration and immune system repair. This is how autoimmunes happen. And this is why with all of my autoimmunes that I get, I don't even address the gut yet. I start giving them whole foods and fixing up liver detox and so forth. But I immediately start going to adrenals, and the three symptoms that I attack very heavily. If I'm called Mr. Cortisol, I'm going to be called three other things as well: Mr. Sleep, Mr. Daily Energy, and Mr. Sex Drive. Those are the three things that I attack with full force. And if I can get those three going, I know your immune system is fully healing. And therefore, if your immune system is fully healing, your gut microbiome is going to be very easy to heal when I go do a 5R gut protocol, if I even need to do one at that point. So this is why you always see me post, like on my stories on Instagram, all the wins. I'll screenshot my clients' messages and be like, hey, look at these radical results. These people, they were not sleeping with Ambien, and now they're knocked out with no supplementation. They're just knocked out sleeping 8 hours a night, all these different things. And so my goal, what I found in my experience with hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of clients, and then most importantly, I would even add myself, because I am my own guinea pig, was focusing on their sleep in and of itself was not getting the job done. So I would go into people's regimens, I would write them a protocol that would help them try to get to sleep. Some people, they just need a methylation protocol and they knock out. Now their methionine is able to break down their thoughts. They don't have anxiety and depression anymore. They just literally knock out, whatever. Totally cool. Some people are having some serotonin deficiencies, so I just got to help them convert tryptophan into 5-HTP, which converts into serotonin, which then converts into melatonin, which is what is needed before bed. Okay, cortisol is supposed to be lowest at night and melatonin is supposed to be highest, and then vice versa in the morning. Melatonin being lowest in the morning, cortisol being highest in the morning. So sometimes I could write those protocols and it's like, A, it either fixed it, or B, they improved. Okay, cool. But I noticed a lot of people, it wasn't working. There was just a wave of people, and it was like, man, these people are tougher. So what I started looking at things was like a seesaw, right? If you're on a seesaw, you have kids, one's on this one, one's on this side. And if this kid pushes up and he's up here, this one's down here. And if this kid pushes up and he's up here, this one's down here, right? And I started going, that is the way we're trying. So let's just picture one way down low, one way up high. That is the way we are trying to address their cortisol, where it's like, hey, you're way up here, but somehow at nighttime, I've got to get you down here. And the jump was way too high or too far gone, too late in the day. So what I started doing was I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Instead of them spiking so much in the morning, so high, just out of range, to where I try to bring them down throughout the day, why don't we mediate them during the day in order to help them at night? So I stopped focusing at night and I started focusing more during the day. And I said, what can I do in their routine or in their supplementation or amino acid protocols or whatever to get them from when they wake up in the morning, to get them away from beta waves? I don't want them to just jump into this stressed out beta wave situation, because then they're in stressed out beta wave all day. They're probably there anyway because they didn't sleep the night before in general, because they're not sleeping, because they're cortisol. And then they stay in that and this, that, and the other. So I had to start addressing it from the morning in order to get better at night. And then boom, if it's a vicious cycle, if you turn it around, it becomes a really good cycle. So there's an amino acid called L-theanine, right? Now, the body does not make L-theanine. The body does not make L-theanine. L-theanine is found in black tea, it's found in green tea, and it's found in like some mushrooms. Okay. Now, L-theanine It's interesting the way God created nature. He created things that if we will follow the protocol, our bodies will balance out. So notice when people have caffeine, it jacks them up, right? What's interesting is notice all of the foods or drinks that we have L-theanine in. A lot of these things are higher in caffeine. So it's like God is telling us, hey, I desire you to have caffeine. It's cool. It's great. It makes you feel good. Gives you energy. Cool. But I desire it to be with something, L-theanine. It's like zinc, right? For every 15 mgs of zinc, you need 2 mgs of copper. And for every 2 mgs of copper, you need 15 mgs of zinc. It's why, like, for people that go on GHKCU, copper peptide, you need to make sure that you're dosing with high dose zinc as well, right? So everything has its balance that God designed in nature for it to naturally have. So if we're going to take it away from nature, we need to make sure it still stays within the boundaries of nature. So I actually am a big fan of caffeine, but I dose L-theanine accordingly. And so for clients, depending on what it is, some of it might be 2-to-1 L-theanine to caffeine. Some of it might be 2-to-1 caffeine to L-theanine, or 1-to-1. It just depends on what I'm doing, how I'm working it, what's going on, what time of day. But what I noticed was, like, for myself, I would take 400 mgs of L-theanine in the morning for myself. I do not recommend it for anybody else. This is not a recommendation. I am not your functional practitioner. So if you do something, this is on you. This is on your end. It has nothing to do with me. I am simply sharing with you my experience that, once again, in no way, shape, or form do I recommend for anybody. I recommend that you get yourself under a licensed practitioner or a professional that is able to monitor these things for you. Okay. And so I would take 400 mgs of L-theanine in the morning with my coffee, and and I'm on it right now, actually. And I'm just like, I'm so calm. I'm so focused. I'm so precise. I'm so locked in. I'm so undistracted. A lot of people know that I was diagnosed with, I have autism spectrum disorder and ADD as well. Okay. It's very hard, unless I'm hyper focusing on something I'm really involved in and passionate about, I can't really pay attention to things very well. On this, it's like I'm just so locked in. I'm focused. I can go for 10 hours straight, just like a machine. And so I just noticed that I would do that in the morning. And when I was having my cortisol issues, I I wouldn't go like into a stress state. I'm always calm. So then throughout the day, I stay calm. And then at nighttime, I would do another 100 mgs or 200 mgs before bed, and it would keep me calm. And that alpha wave would allow me to better induce into theta waves and then delta waves. I would never be in a beta state. And so I started really focusing on these concepts with clients where I said, hey, let's focus on them throughout the day in order to get the results at night. Because then if I can get them to bed at night, their cortisol will drop and they won't even have as much anxiety during the day. But it started at the daytime in order for me to get them right in the nighttime. So it was like this reverse situation that I had to do in order to get to the results I wanted. It's like dealing with the gut. I always tell my mentees in my mentorship, the coaches that are in my mentorship, do not focus on the gut. They're going to relapse. Focus on the root of the gut, which, sure, you got to fix up their diet. Tell them to stop eating McDonald's all the time. Like, figure out that crap. You know what I mean? Stop eating Twizzlers every day. Like, it's garbage. Do the obvious stuff, right? But when it comes to genuinely fixing the gut, you've got to fix the immune system and the adrenals. Because if the cortisol is off and adrenals are off, guess what? Your 5 beta acetylcholine is going to be off with your androgens. If 5 beta acetylcholine is off, guess what else is off? CRP, SHBG, and your immune system causing autoimmune diseases. Not only that, if your estrogen is off, boom, now your estrogen receptors for your immune system are not being filled properly and bound to. The immune system goes haywire, causes autoimmunes. That's why people in menopause go crazy with inflammation, because they're no longer binding to those receptors efficiently, and they probably weren't doing it appropriately with their diet, with phytonutrients and phytoestrogens and so forth, okay? With that said, you have to continually go backwards. Okay, I've got to fix the thyroid. Maybe that's the root of the gut. Okay, great. What's the root of their thyroid? They're not converting T4 to T3. T4 is created by the thyroid. Only 10% of T3 is created by the thyroid. Where does T3 come from? T4 converts into T3 in the cell by an enzyme called deiodinase. In your cells, so keep this in mind, coaches, lay people, whatever. Out of the 100% of the thyroid that your thyroid makes, 90% is T4, 10% is T3. T4 is inactive. We don't care about T4. T3 is active. It's actually what's doing something for your body. Now, T4 goes and lodges in your cells, your peripheral cells, and there the enzyme called deiodinase converts it into T3. Okay. Well, you have this deiodinase enzyme. You have D1, D2, and D3. D1 and D2 are what's called ORD, outer ring deiodinase. Outer ring deiodinase converts 1/3 of your T4 into free T3. IRD, which is D3, inner ring deiodinase, converts your free T4 into reverse T3. And so whenever you're having a cortisol issue or a stress issue, guess what's not converting? Your deiodinase enzyme. So T3 will be low. If T3 is low, now your food isn't being metabolized. If food is not being metabolized, then it's sitting in the gut and causing what? SIBO and gut dysbiosis. So your T3 is actually the root of your gut issues. But what's the root of your T3? Your adrenals and your immune system. So you got to go back and back, and you got to fix the root cause, right? And so as we start to focus on the brainwaves, we start to focus on their habits, we start to focus on their boundaries, we start to focus on these lifestyle concepts, maybe therapy, talking things out, getting to the root of their trauma. If they're having a marriage issue, me as a pastor, I actually do marriage counseling in my practice. It's one of the major benefits of my practice that separates me from everybody else. And these marriages get radical results, just radical results. But with that said, focus on the herbal and supplementation for during the day so that your herbal and supplementation at night does not have to work as hard. I don't want to just focus on cutting off cortisol before bed. I want to focus on monitoring it throughout the day. I don't want them to go from stressed fight or flight all day to then they get home and now they're so wired up they can't even calm down. I want to keep them calm during the day. I want the seesaw to be balanced. The daytime, I want it to be up while it needs to be, but the nighttime, I want it to be able to come down efficiently. And sometimes that means I don't want them as high as they're getting during the day. So as we start to focus on these things as well, part of the brainwave state has to do with liver detoxification. If you are not detoxifying in type 2 liver detox, that's a methylation issue. Did you know 44% of America has the MTHFR gene mutation, methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase? What it means is that you do not methylate. You do not convert vitamins and things and homocysteine into what you need to convert it into SAMe. S-adenosylmethionine, right? And that's what helps you break down thought so that when you can't break down thought, it's why a lot of people, they'll go to bed, and when they go to bed, all of a sudden their mind turns on and they start thinking about 1,000 thoughts and it's racing. This is happening for one of two reasons. Either A, cortisol, or it's B, methylation. They are not methylating. They are not able to break down thought because they're lacking methionine converting into SAMe, which means their homocysteine is going to be high. You have a big methylation cycle. And people think it's just methyl B12 and methylfolate. I'm like, bro, that's 2 pieces on the 12 pieces of that methyl cycle. Like, I just had a doctor the other day tell me, hey, Nick, I'm putting methylfolate and methyl B12 in there. It's not really working for my clients. I'm like, it's 1 piece. Like, you're talking about the MTR and MTRR enzyme, but you're missing BHMT and all these other concepts that go with it. It's a huge cycle. But that could be it, right? If you have that and then they're not sleeping, now their cortisol is going to go up from not sleeping, or their cortisol is going to go up just during the day because they're stressed out. This is a lot of people that I find that are on SSRIs, which an SSRI is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, people with anxiety, depression, and so forth. So you've got all these roots, but the point is that you've got to fix their brainwave state. It's the major key. But you have to know all the root causes that can mess with the brainwave state. So this has been a fun experience for me. It's something that I think needs to become more well known. I think that I'm in a very special place in that I didn't realize I probably am getting more cortisol cases than any coach or practitioner in the United States of America. To be honest with you, it floods me so much that it's, hey, it's such your reality. You think it's everyone else's reality. I thought every other functional coach was like getting this regularly, and they're not. Or when they are, they don't know how to fix it efficiently. They're struggling. They've got to go to GLPs, GIPs, get all the peptides and blah, blah, blah. And I'm able to get to these roots really well. And clients are having good sex drive now, good energy. They're knocking out and getting fantastic sleep. And like I said, this is the root of not fixing all your illnesses. It's literally where your immune system calms down and your tissues genuinely repair. It is the repair state, is being able to get into delta and be able to sleep. But the key, in my opinion, is being able to stay alpha dominantly throughout the day. So if this is something that you struggle with, it's something that I work with continually, please reach out into my practice. Just email us at info@lifestyleofeden.com, or you can DM me on Instagram, lifestyle_of_Eden. And I'd be more than happy to discuss with you, have a consultation with you, and go from there. But this is something that you absolutely have to fix. And if it's something that you're noticing, hey, I'm just not able to get there. And here's the thing, don't accept less than your best. Don't be like, oh, yeah, I kind of sleep. Or, hey, I sleep really good some nights and not other nights. No, you need to be sleeping fantastic every night. If you're not getting that, do not compromise and make excuses as to why that's okay. You need that sleep. You deserve that sleep. And that sleep is critical for you living your best life, for you, for your spouse, for your kids, for your parents, for your jobs, for everything that you're doing. Your sex drive depends on it. Your fat loss depends on it. Your longevity depends on it. And your disease reversal and prevention depends on it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it was enlightening and it starts to open your eyes that there is a little bit more than what meets the eye when it comes to cortisol and sleep. Stay tuned for the next episode.